friends, my name is Aubrey. Welcome back to my channel. I'm so happy to have you all here with me today. So for today's video, I wanted to have a little discussion about the importance of reading for enjoyment. So this kind of came about because recently I had a book that I did not finish. And this is not a very common occurrence with me. Typically, anytime I start a book, I do finish it, or if I do put it away for it's temporarily. In my head, I'm thinking, okay, I'm just not in the right space for this right now. I'm just not in the mood for it. And I do plan to come back to it eventually. It is very rare for me to have a book that I just genuinely say once I've started it, no, I'm done with this. It's not for me. But this did happen to me recently, and I wanted to talk not about that book. That's not the focus of this video, but just to talk about the importance of reading things that we enjoy. And it also stems not just from me not finishing this book recently, but because in my own life, I have seen so many people who feel like they have to justify what they're reading or watching or playing. We could apply this conversation to any type of media that you consume. Saying like, well, oh, I just like it. You know, it's not that good, but I like it. And they feel like they have to justify why it is that they want to consume this story. And I myself have found myself doing that at times. And I don't know if any of you have, but it's kind of a sinking feeling that you feel like what you're consuming, the fact that you like it, isn't enough for other people to understand why you are reading it, for example, because this video is going to be focused on books specifically. And that's not really fair. And so I just wanted to talk about why it is important to read things that make you happy, to read things that you enjoy. Now, I do want to preface this little discussion with a couple of things. First of all, I am not at all saying that you should not read books that make you sad or that have more serious discussions, or that everything you read should just constantly make you happy the whole time you're reading that. That is not at all what I'm saying. I have a number of books that I love very, very dearly that make me cry every time I read them. And so, you know, I have a number of books that I love very dearly that discuss very serious topics and have very tragic events that occur in the story. So I'm not at all trying to say that you should not read those things. Secondly, I am also not saying that you shouldn't, or I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with reading something simply because you feel that it's important to read. I'm not saying that either. There are certain things that you choose to consume, certain stories and certain works, whether they're fiction or nonfiction, that you choose to consume because you yourself feel that this topic or this story is important, and that's perfectly fine. So I'm not at all saying that you shouldn't do that either. However, what I do want to address here is just this idea that I myself have encountered with people in my own life and conversations I've had with others, that you must read certain things because they are, what would be a good way to say this? Because they are well written, or because they are artistic or something like that, that you must consume certain things. Or alternatively, you have people who get offended if you don't like what they like, and say, no, you have to read this because it's popular. You have to read this for this reason. Or, on the other hand, people who don't understand why you enjoy a certain story because to them it doesn't seem good enough. So that's kind of what I want to talk about today. When it comes down to it, reading is a very personal activity. Consuming a story is a very personal experience. We all have things that we're going to like that other people are not going to like, and we all have things that we are not going to like even when other people like them. And I feel like it is important to realize that when we read a story, we are reading it for ourselves, for whatever reason we choose to pick it up, either because we want to learn something, because we feel that this is something that's important for people to be discussing, or just because we enjoy it, right? Maybe making us happy isn't the right word, because again, there are a lot of sad books that I love very much, but we enjoy it for some reason. And that is kind of the point of this video today, is the importance of enjoying what you read. So I know that, I mean, it's not like people all the time I see on the internet who are like, yeah, I DNF'd this book, or I finished this book and I'm going to donate it because I just didn't enjoy it. So I understand that this is not something that, people are not just being forced to read things all the time just because they feel like they have to. But I do see it happen, and I do see people feeling like they have to justify things. So first of all, I just want to say that it is okay to read a book or a story simply because you like it. You don't have to have any other reason beyond that. Sometimes you do. As I said, sometimes it's really important, or it's something that speaks personally to you, or it has a lot of character tropes or plot points that you find very interesting, or it's very well written. But sometimes you like it just because you like it. And that's fine. We need to, I think, get out of this idea that we have to justify everything that we do to other people, that we have to have reasons for liking what we like. We have to have reasons for reading what we read. It's okay to read a story just because it makes you happy. Stories are there for a number of reasons. There are a number of reasons why we tell stories, why we read stories, why we've been, as a species, doing this as long as we've existed, right? Stories help us to make sense of the world. They help us to understand other people outside of ourselves. They do all of these wonderful things to help us grow as people, right? They give us insight into lives and perspectives of people who we're never going to meet, and of events that are never going to happen to us, and of experiences that we are never going to have, right? And it helps us to broaden our horizons and to form a greater empathy and understanding for others. That is a wonderful thing that stories do, but they also entertain, right? We form bonds with different characters. We make this emotional connection and this empathetic connection with fictional characters. We, experience stories in ways that cause actual chemical responses in our brains that cause us to feel emotions. When bad things happen to characters who we love, we feel sad. When good things happen to them, we're excited. We're happy for them. And it's not a bad thing to read a story just to make yourself happy, just to have those positive endorphins, those positive emotions that you get out of consuming this story. There is nothing wrong with doing that. Okay, as an example, I myself have a number of stories. We'll just pick one. A Gentle Noble's Vacation Recommendation is a manga series that I very much enjoy. I love it. Every time a new volume arrives at my house, I get really excited. I enjoy reading it so much. But when I try to explain to other people why I love it, I sometimes have people like, well, that just seems like fluff. It just seems silly. It doesn't seem like there's any kind of discussion happening really, or any important topics being brought up or anything, and it's just a silly little manga story. Yeah, it is. It's a little isekai about an overpowered, well, somewhat overpowered, very intelligent character who ends up in a different world, makes friends, forms this little band of adventurers, goes on adventures. He's very good at political manipulation and sticking his nose in places. And you know what? I like it. I like seeing him be super competent. I like seeing his companions, who are really the OP ones, being very overpowered and just tackling everything that comes their way. I like seeing them be overprotective of each other. I just enjoy it. It just makes me happy. And I shouldn't feel like I have to justify that to other people, or like people are going to judge me for saying that I enjoy this story. And again, I don't know how many of you have ever experienced this, but this will be a pretty short video. I just wanted to take a moment because this has really been on my mind a lot lately. Um, and I feel like it's important to enjoy things sometimes just for the sake of enjoyment. I think that is an important part of life, right? To have things that just make us happy and to consume those things simply because they make us happy. And then on the other hand, the alternative side of this, don't feel pressured to read something just because everybody else wants you to read it. Just because it's really popular and you're like, well, everyone else seems to like it and it doesn't sound like something I'll like, but I feel like I have to read it because I need to be able to have an opinion on it or I need to be able to discuss it even though I can tell I'm not going to like it, then just don't read it. That's okay. You don't have to try it. And if you do try it because you're interested and you want to see why all these people like this book and you don't like it, don't feel bad about not liking it. Unfortunately, I feel like there are a number of people out in the world, on the internet as well, who will get genuinely angry if you dislike one of their favorite books or series. And I just think that that's so silly because we all have different interests, different opinions. We are all different people. We are not all going to like the same thing. So don't feel pressured to read something just because other people like it. Additionally, you shouldn't feel pressured to read something just because people say that it is some grand literary work. For example, one book that I will never ever read is Moby Dick. Not because I think that Moby Dick is poorly written. I recognize that, again, I've never read it, but I recognize based on the things I've heard of it, based on the passages that I have seen and read from the story, it is extremely well crafted from what I can tell. Again, I've never read it. I have heard some people say that it can get a bit tedious at times, and that's, their opinion. I cannot form an opinion on this, but I recognize that there is a reason that it has endured this long and so many people enjoy it. So I'm sure that it is a good book, well written, well crafted. I'm sure that it is interesting. However, the idea of whaling upsets me on a very deep level, so it is a book that I am never planning to read. And I honestly don't feel bad about it at all because it's just not for me. It's nothing against the book, it's just not for me. However, I have had people be like, why would you not read that? How dare you not like it? And I'm like, it's not that I'm saying it's bad or that I'm judging people for liking it. It's just not for me. But sometimes it's not even that they are upset because they like it, but they're upset that you won't read it because they think that it's a necessary read. There aren't any necessary reads, guys. Unless we're talking an educational type book that you need to read to learn about something, which is not what I'm talking about here. I'm talking about stories, right? And yes, there are some nonfiction narrative works that do contain stories that I think are important to learn about certain events in history and help us build, like I said, that empathetic range for other people and other cultures and other lives and experiences. But when it comes down to it, there are not books that you must read just because they are a classic, or because they are well written, or because they are part of some literary canon. Okay? You can make the argument people need to read certain books to learn about something important, but other than that, there's nothing that you feel like you have to read. I think that that's silly. If it doesn't interest you, if you don't like it, if you try it and it's just not for you, that's okay. You shouldn't feel like you have to justify the things you like, but you also shouldn't feel like you have to justify your reasons for not consuming something or disliking something. It's okay to not like stuff. So I just feel like we fall down this rabbit hole of trying to appease other people in our lives and in the world, and the internet makes it especially difficult because there are so many other people out there who want to share their opinions. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. Obviously, I'm on the internet. It's a very good thing. It gives us the chance to talk to people we wouldn't normally get the chance to talk to, and that's wonderful. But we need to be careful about trying to force our opinions on other people. And we need to be careful about making people feel guilty for not enjoying something that we enjoy or that we think is just important for some arbitrary reason, right? Like that it's a classic or part of a canon or part of like a required reading list, that sort of thing. There is no such thing, right? It doesn't matter. So yeah, so it's just a short little rant, I suppose this is. Just because, like I said, this has been on my mind a lot lately, and I feel like it's just important to recognize, like, we only have so much time, right? We only have so many books that we're going to be able to read in our lives, and you may as well choose books that you enjoy. You may as well choose books that speak to you on some level, rather because they're about a topic you're interested in and you want to learn about, or just because you enjoy them, whether they make you happy or you find it really moving or touching or whatever the case is. It's important to read things that we like and to not feel like we are stuck with a list that someone else has created for us. So yeah, alright. Anyway, I know that this is not typical, like my typical style of video or anything, but I just feel like sometimes things need to be said, and hopefully this maybe will have a positive effect on some of you who see it. Maybe you're struggling with this thought as well, or this issue, and maybe this will help. So anyway, really short video. I would love to hear your thoughts on this topic, like what you think about reading for enjoyment, reading things that we want to read as opposed to what other people tell us we should read, or shouldn't read, as the case may be. And if you've had any experiences of this nature that you'd like to share, I would love to chat with you guys in the comments. For today's emoji, if you would like to leave an emoji, let's do maybe a nice little cloud emoji. The sky's really pretty where I live today. It rained really heavily this morning before we left for church, but now it's just like big fluffy white clouds with like little gray linings around them floating in the sky, which is very blue. It's very pretty. So if you would like to leave an emoji with your comment, or if you just want to let me know you were here but you don't have anything to say, you can just put some clouds down there. We'll just have a nice little cloudy sky in the comment section. But I genuinely love to talk to you guys in the comments. It really does make me happy. So but yeah, so thank you guys all so much for watching my little rant. Again, hopefully this maybe helped some of you or reached some of you, or hopefully some of you agree with me. But let me know what you think, and I hope that you're having a wonderful day or night wherever you are, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!